Hello, and welcome back to Subnarrator, where we share stories of boundaries, betrayal, and the profound satisfaction of building your own success. Today's tale is about a father who was constantly dismissed by his family as too much, too generous, too dramatic, too overboard. They thought they could erase his daughter's name for convenience, but they failed to realize they were awakening the quiet architect of their own exclusion. My name is Liam. I'm 34. And for most of my life, I've run a small, successful construction company. I work hard, and I've always believed that if you have the means to make life special for the people you love, you should seize that opportunity. But in my family, that effort was always met with a condescending chuckle and that infuriating word, overboard. So when my daughter Lily turned 8, I decided to go overboard one last time. I planned something truly magical. A full-scale royal carnival right in our backyard. We had everything: bouncy castles, a popcorn machine, balloon artists creating elaborate tiaras. Lily had been planning it for months, sketching her dream royal carnival in crayon. Watching her excitement was worth every single cent. Act 1. The hijacking and the fallen tiara. The morning of the party, the backyard looked like a scene from a fairy tale. Lily was beaming, running between the games and the cotton candy machine. Everything was perfect until I went inside to retrieve the piece de resistance, the huge 2-tier vanilla cake with pink buttercream and sugar flowers. When I pulled the lid off, my world tilted. Across the top, written in big, ugly blue frosting, were the words, "Congrats, Liam." Then Mom walked in. "Oh, good, you found the cake," she said, utterly unconcerned. "We just combined the parties. It made more sense that way. Your brother's little boy, Liam, is turning 5, so we figured we'd save everyone the trouble and just celebrate both kids." I stood there, paralyzed, the knife heavy in my hand. My dad strolled in, laughing. "Don't make that face, son. It's just practical. Saves money, saves time. Win-win." My brother, Matt, then appeared, cheerful phone in hand. "Hey, man, great setup. Told you he'd get a joint party, didn't we, babe?" I felt a blinding, hot rage, but forced a smile and carried the cake out. Lily saw the cake, looked at me, then looked back at the cake. Her magnificent, gap-toothed grin faded. "Daddy," she whispered, "why does it say Liam? That's not me." I swallowed hard and told her we'd fix it, but the magic was gone. She was quiet through the entire song. She didn't blow out the candles. She simply took off her sparkly tiara and placed it in my hand, a gesture of quiet, utter defeat. That was the moment everything inside me shifted from pain to cold resolve. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just went silent, absorbing every mocking laugh and every condescending joke about saving me money. By the time the last guest left, I was done. I went inside, and without a word, I started canceling every single family obligation, starting with the group chat. Act 2. The stone-cold exit. The moment I went quiet, the floodgates opened. 17 missed calls, a dozen voicemails. The family group chat exploded, accusing me of ruining a good day over some cake lettering. Matt's messages were the loudest. "Stop being dramatic." Lily didn't even care. The next morning, Mom showed up, tried to smooth things over with muffins, still insistent that Lily would bounce back. She took off her tiara and wouldn't blow out her candles. I stated. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. "You're overreacting. We didn't hijack anything. We just combined it." She didn't have her party. I countered, my voice sharp. She had their party. I realized then that no apology was ever coming. They saw me as the problem. The pressure campaign culminated in Dad's ultimatum. "Son, I think you owe your brother an apology. You're too sensitive. Family comes first." I felt a cold clarity. The ultimate threat came when Dad texted, "If you can't be part of this family without causing problems, maybe you should sit the next few events out. We'll invite Lily when she's old enough to come without the attitude." They were trying to weaponize my own daughter against me. That was the line. They lost the right to my compliance. I stopped hoping they would change. I pulled away completely, focusing only on Lily. Weeks later, after I took her for ice cream, she finally explained why she was quiet at school. "When we go to Grandma's house, it feels like no one sees me, like I'm just there. Hearing that hit me harder than any insult my parents could launch. I knew there was no going back. I wasn't just going to pull back quietly. I was going to make sure they understood what it felt like to be excluded. I sat down and started gathering evidence. Receipts, photos of the cakes, screenshots of every passive-aggressive message. This was no longer about spite. It was about building a case. ACT 3, the quiet architect builds. The silence was the hardest part, but once the noise of their guilt tripping faded, I found space to breathe. I threw myself into my construction business. That sharp, focused energy wasn't for me. It was for Lily. I took bigger contracts, hired reliable crews, and before long, we were booked out months in advance. The money started coming in, and with it, a new kind of power. I was determined to build something no one could diminish. For Lily's next birthday, I did not invite my family. I rented a small hall, decorated it with unicorns and glitter, and bought her a real tiara. When the cake came out, it had her name on it in big gold letters. She leaned over and whispered, "This is the best party ever." That feeling of unclenched peace was priceless. The real shift came when I started networking with local business owners. Through a community grant, my company became an official partner for local town events. My name and logo were on everything. My mother, who loved the town social scene, started seeing my success everywhere she went. She texted, "Seems like you're doing well. Wish we could be part of it." I didn't reply. Then I got my true opportunity. The community center needed a main sponsor for their biggest event, a massive family day festival. In exchange, the event would be named after the sponsor. I signed a deal that afternoon. Within a week, the posters were printed and plastered all over town. Lily and Company Family Fun Day, sponsored by Liam, last name Construction. I had insisted on putting Lily's name in the title. When the director asked why, I said simply, "She's the reason I do all of this." 2 days later, my brother Matt texted, "Mom says we should all go. Can you get us some free passes?" My reply was short, final, and cold. No passes needed. It's open to the public. See you there. ACT 4, the forced audience and the boundary. The day of the festival, the park was massive, vibrant, and packed. Lily and I arrived in matching event shirts. She gasped at the sight. It was 10 times bigger than the Overboard party I'd thrown a year earlier. As the crowds poured in, I saw them. My parents, Matt, and his girlfriend, looking around like stunned tourists. Dad approached me near the stage, his hands deep in his pockets. "This is impressive," he mumbled. "You really didn't have to do all this." I met his eye, and my voice was calm, firm. "Yes, I did." Throughout the day, they watched from the periphery. They watched as parents thanked me, as city council members shook my hand, and as the director stood on stage and proudly announced that the entire festival had been made possible by my efforts and was named after my daughter, Lily. I didn't gloat. I just focused on making sure Lily was having the best day of her life. As the music swelled for the closing ceremony, I caught my parents' eyes and saw it clearly for the first time. Regret. But that was just the setup. The final move required silence, clarity, and evidence. 2 weeks later, I invited them all over, my parents, Matt, his girlfriend, and the loudest extended relatives. I catered the meal. I wasn't wasting my energy cooking for them. I kept the conversation unervingly polite. When the plates were cleared, I set a worn, leather folder on the table. "This," I said calmly, "is the last year of my life. Every party I paid for, every time I tried to give my daughter something special, and every time I got treated like she was too much." I opened the folder and slowly, one by one, laid the evidence out on the dining table. The photo of the congrats, Liam cake. Screenshots of them telling me to stop being dramatic. Receipts with my name on them. The table was covered in proof. "For months, you tried to make me feel like I was crazy for being hurt," I continued. "You think it was just a cake, just one mistake. But this entire table is proof of a pattern. A pattern where you treated my daughter like a footnote and my effort like it was disposable." I held up a hand as my father started to speak. "No, you don't get to interrupt. You have been talking over me for years. You can listen for 5 minutes." The silence that followed was heavy and complete. "Here is what's going to happen," I said, leaning back. "From now on, if you want to be in Lily's life, you do it on my terms. You respect her days, her milestones, and you respect me when I say no. If you can't do that, you don't get access to us. No parties, no holidays, no quick visits to make yourselves feel better. Nothing. I stood, calmly collected the papers, and walked upstairs to check on Lily. Downstairs, I could hear them whispering in the stunned, heavy silence. When I returned 10 minutes later, the house was empty. The next morning, Mom texted, "We didn't realize how much we hurt you. We need to talk." I let Dad's call go to voicemail. The revenge wasn't in the confrontation. It was in the deafening silence that followed, the silence they finally had to sit with. Weeks later, I was being honored as Business of the Year at the town gala. Lily sat proudly at my table. My parents, uninvited, found a way to stand near the back. I walked up to the stage and accepted the award. "This award means a lot," I said, "but this company started with one simple goal, to build something better, something my daughter could be proud of." Every late night, every risk I took was for her. And standing here now, seeing her smiling at me, that's the real award. After the ceremony, my parents approached. "Liam," my dad said quietly, "we were wrong." No tears, no shouting, just 3 words I'd waited a year to hear. "I know," I replied. When Lily and I drove home, the award resting beside her, she looked out the window and said, "Daddy, I think today was even better than my birthday." I smiled, my hand steady on the wheel. "Good," I said, "because this is just the beginning. This is the story of a father who taught his family a difficult lesson. You don't get to treat people like footnotes and still expect a seat at the table." He didn't just rebuild his life. He made his daughter the very foundation of his success and forced his toxic family to watch from the outside as he built their world better, stronger, and completely on their own terms. If you were inspired by Liam's quiet triumph, please hit that like button and subscribe to Sub-Narrator. Let us know in the comments, what song would you have played as you walked away from that dinner table? We'll see you next time.